previous session, we talked about what is the definition of design thinking, what it means, and why we have to use design thinking to enhance the user experience and product innovation. So today we will look into an example. On your screens, you see a set of women carrying water on their heads. What else do you observe from the photo? Your observations are that the roads are not good, they are not wearing chappal, right? They are carrying water on their heads. So there would be pain on the neck muscles. All right. On top of it, if you clearly observe the photo, they are all smiling. Right. So generally in the rural places where the things are not clear, and more specifically rural India and rural African nations, people go longer distances to fetch water. They spend a lot of time. From the photo, we can observe that the possibility of muscular pains because of carrying of load on the head for a longer distance. There is always a security issue as they have to travel long distances to fetch water. Maybe they have to pass through forests where there is a possibility of wild elements coming into picture. As you people have observed, there are no chappals on the legs, so there may be harm to the foot. Other important point is the amount of time that is spent in fetching the water. They have to travel certain distance, fetch water and come back. And another important thing that you have to observe is there is always a smile on their faces, and they are not feeling that it is a burden on them. So an engineer like us thought that how can I save the time these women are spending to fetch water from a remote location. So he thought that I should provide a solution to these people, and he immediately came down to the village, brought a boring machine, drilled and fixed this hand bore in the village. After a few days, he comes back to the village to see how the bore that is being put in is being used. Villages. Surprisingly, he observes that women are still going back to the river or the pond to fetch the water. Now, can you people tell me that did the engineer do anything wrong? Even when the bore was installed in the locality, still the women are going to the river to fetch the water. So can I assume that the solution the engineer gave failed to meet the expectations of the people? Can you people give me a reason why still the women are going to fetch the water from the river? Yeah, they are living in backward areas, accepted. But the bore is installed. They have put a bore in their village. People are not using that bore in the village. They're again going to the river or pond to fetch the water. No, water is of a good quality. Water is of good quality. Fresh water, pond water is not a fresh water. River water can be a fresh water. Pond water is not a fresh water. Bore water is also a fresh water. Any other reasons why even after installing the bore, still the women were going to fetch the water? Maybe they are bullied from their villages. Okay, this could be a reason. Maybe. Good, good. They are losing their time which they spent with their friends. Very good, very good. Naga Sahitya. Good analysis. So if you clearly observe this, the engineer who drilled the bore and trained them how to use the bore did not think about cultural behavior of the people. Normally, maybe in Indian environment or in African environment, it is always considered that women have to do their household work. Women will have to fetch water. So most of the time, they spend their time of a day doing the household related activities. So they do not find much time in talking to other people or sharing their views. These women had only this time of traveling to fetch water was a time where they could talk to each other, share their thoughts and feelings. That's the reason if you clearly see on the photos also, the women are smiling. So when the engineer developed this, he forgot about the customs the people have, the culture in which they live in, and the culture they follow, the family restrictions that they may have, freedom, freedom in terms of walking, talking to their friends, sharing their views, socialization time was not taken into consideration because he did not have empathy. He did not have empathy. He was only looking at providing a solution and he did not consider the end user while generating the solution. Had he been considered the end user into consideration, maybe he would have generated. This is where now the design thinking becomes important. So now again, what did the engineer do? The engineer sat back, spoke to the people, talked to them, understood them, then he observed their activities, he came to certain conclusions, then developed the prototype, and then he developed a product of this form. What do you see? You see drums which are rolled on the roads and a handle is been provided to pull the drums. So in comparison to the earlier small buckets they were carrying on the head, now you can bring in larger quantity of water. Still, the women have their own time of spending with respect to their friends, socializing, talking to each individual. Maybe it can be a walk, fresh air, and this solution was accepted by the people and adopted by the people. Now hope you have a clear picture of why design thinking is important. If you want to incorporate design thinking in providing solutions to complex problems, the important part is that the mindset of the design thinker. What should be the design thinking mindset? The design thinking mindset should be optimistic in nature. Okay, we will try to understand the people, try to find their difficulties, and we will obviously find a solution for them. That is optimistic. And when you are optimistic, you have to have the human-centered thinking and decision making. And we should be ready to embrace ambiguity. Ambiguity in the sense confusion, an unknown situation. When you incorporate, try to understand the people's mindsets for whom you are trying to provide a solution, you are going into an environment which you do not know. So you don't know what kind of situations you will have to encounter. So you should be ready to embrace such situations, accept such situations. And failures are the first steps of learning. And you should always be ready to learn from the failures. Failure does not mean that it does not work or you should not rethink of the solution. Rethink of the solution. Failure should be a process which will help you to redefine your solution. And you should not be always running in the mind. You should also be hands-on. Whatever the ideations, things that you do, you should be ready to make a prototype of it, to test the concepts and work the concepts. Sometimes we may fail in some cases. Maybe we understood the people properly, but we did not generate the idea properly. We generated the idea properly, but we did not do the prototype properly. We developed the prototype properly, but the end product did not come properly. So we should be ready to go back and then come forward. Go back and come forward. We should be iterative and always remember this. We should not be of a mindset that I alone can do everything. You have to collaborate with different people of different mindsets, different cultures, different technical backgrounds, so that you get confined, elaborated work done with respect to this. So this should be the mindset of a design thinker. Generally, we always follow traditional thinking. So what is the difference between a traditional thinking and a design thinking? Traditional thinking is like a book. You will follow one after the other. After the first page, you will go to the second page. After the second page, you will go to the third page. Design thinking is like your mobile phone. You are suddenly watching WhatsApp. You will get a call. You will immediately switch to the phone. And then suddenly, you wanted to see some message. Again, you will go back to your text message. Come back to the call. That is like your design thinking. You are not constant. There is nothing like a sequence that you have to follow. In a traditional thinking, we always think that we should not fail. Like we go to write examinations, and we always feel that we should not fail in the examination. We should pass in the examination. And we always try to follow the order. First unit, second unit, third unit, fourth unit, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. And we always are of an opinion that we should get the things right in the first time. And certainty is a key. I should get 80%. If not, this is not acceptable. This is a certainty that we are thinking. We do a very little thinking in traditional one. and we always concerned of facts and numbers. Okay, on what fact are we developing this? How many numbers do we think have to do? And we always rely on logic and standardization in traditional thinking. Whereas, if you look in the design thinking, failing fast is an important thing in the design thinking. If you fail fast, you will know where you are doing a mistake. You will go back why you are doing a mistake and see why you are doing a mistake, and you will try to overcome that. And as you are incorporating this, you are always ready to take a risk and ready to repeat the process, iterate the process. You are ready to enter into a zone which is unknown to you, and you always believe in doing. Rather than writing pages of pages, you do sketching and tell them in the form of a story. You build a story towards your product and tell, and you are always emotional. Because as your human-centered approach is incorporated, you are always emotional, and humanitization is an important thinking. You always consider product is not alone on technology, it is also on human-centered design, which is not there in the traditional thinking. So now, is design thinking analytical or intuitive? Intuitive in the sense deep, collaborative, explorative. Design thinking is a combination of both analytical thinking and intuitive thinking. It balances both analytical and intuitive thinking. Analytical thinking focuses on standardization, like what should be the length of my pen, what should be the thickness of my pen. Whereas intuitive thinking focuses more on instincts to drive creativity and innovation. Right? How smooth I should write, how much of ink it should flow down, how long should be able to write comfortably of it, how to hold the pen in my pocket. All that will come under the intuitive thinking. So design thinking is a balance of both analytical thinking and intuitive thinking. If you purely design on analytical thinking, your product is 100% reliable. And you can do only this if you have strong facts. Intuitive thinking is 100% valid because end user is someone who is happy with it. It depends on strong feelings. As said earlier, design thinking incorporates both analytical thinking and intuitive thinking, which is a 50-50% mix of analytical and as well as intuitive. Design thinking combines, as I said, intuitive thinking, that is creativity, and analytical thinking. Our head has two brains, left brain and the right brain. The left brain is your analytical brain. The right brain is your intuitive brain. Your left brain works on facts, whereas your right brain works on feelings. So left brain thinks about analytical, rational, objective. It looks about the present and the past. It depends on facts, orders, and it is always planned. Whereas your right brain is creative. It is holistic. It considers everyone. Subjective. It takes into consideration the situation. It also looks at present, not the past, but the future. It takes into consideration the feelings of an individual. It is spatial and it is spontaneous. And when you want to work, it is both your left brain and the right brain that have to work together. Design thinking is creative and analytical. Design thinking is a combination of divergent and convergent thinking process. We said that in earlier, design thinking is a combination of analytical and intuitive thinking. Now again, I am putting in a process that the design thinking is a combination of divergent and convergent thinking process. What is divergent? Expanding. Convergent? Narrowing. Right. So now if you look at what are the 5 stages or principles of design thinking? What are the 5 principles or stages of design thinking? So what are the 5 stages of design thinking? It is there on your screens. Empathy, idea, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test, right? So empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. So when you want to find out what you have to do, you have to sit with the people, talk to them. Then you have to have a longer inputs received from the people. So you have to speak to more number of people to understand the people. So you are divergent. Once you talk to the people, you have to generate the insights and come to certain conclusions. So what you do? You will narrow down. So from the lot of information that you have, you will try to make some insights into it, and then you narrow down. So you can see this expanding, this sky blue color. Then the gray color, narrowing down. Once you have made the insights, then you have to generate certain ideas. So don't generate one, generate plenty of ideas which are possible. So again you are expanding, divergent. And then what you do? You have to test which ideas will work. What you will do? You will try to prototype the best ideas. So when you're prototyping, some prototypes may fail. So again you are narrowing down and will come to one particular one which will provide you the best solution. So you are, look at this, you are expanding, you are narrowing down, expanding and narrowing down. This approach is called as double diamond approach. This approach is called as double diamond. You can see a diamond here. Diamond normally represented in this form, rhombus. So there are 2 diamonds next to each other. So you are starting from a point of a diamond, expanding, then again narrowing down to a point. Again expanding and narrowing down. This is called as double diamond approach. So your first diamond is a problem space and second diamond is a solution space. Right, so as described, the design thinking process is a divergent and convergent process. This is called as double diamond. What should be the traits of a design thinker? Traits in the sense lakshanalu, features, abilities of a design thinker. So you as a design thinker should be able to step into the shoes of your customers. As I said, your soul should enter into the other person to understand the person before it generates a solution. So మీ ఆత్మ వాళ్ళలో ప్రవేశించి వాళ్ళ గురించి తెలుసుకోవడానికి మీరు ప్రయత్నం చేయాలి. You should be able to get into the steps of that. You should have a feeling of the users and the stakeholders, empathy. You should like to challenge the status quo, rebelliously, challengingly. you should be able to ask the right questions. You should generate an ability to ask the right questions. Why? Even it could be your senior, your boss. Instead of writing, always believe picture speaks better than words. You can understand the situation through pictures rather than words because they give you a lot more insights. You should be ready to draw and sketch instead of typing a mail or writing down. Should have an attitude to collaborate in multidisciplinary instead of working in a similar mindset people. You should not be always working with a similar mindset people. You should be working with divergent mindset people. So maybe your team has a person who is a businessman, a person who is an engineer, a person who is a doctor, a person who is a common man, so that we will be able to understand each individual and generate a collaborative work. And you should always be optimistic, have a big picture, to be able to look at the big picture and think positively, holistically, and should generate many ideas. And you should not be worried about that your idea will be carried away. You should be ready to share your idea with the other person to know that whether your idea is a feasible idea or not a feasible idea. And you should always be ready to rework, reiterate, find alternate approaches to reach the desired goals. And be ready to fail and more often ready to fail in the process. This should be the characteristics of a design thinker. And another important thing that we have to keep in mind, what is not design thinking? You should always remember that design thinking is applicable to only creative people or product designers is false. Mother in our house is also a design thinker. Teacher in a class is also a design thinker. The carpenter that we visit is also a design thinker. So only creative people or product designers are not alone design thinkers. And we should not always think, as I said earlier, design thinking is not about aesthetics or crafting, not the outer looks. It is much more than the aesthetics and yes. Design thinking is not alone brainstorming sessions, like all of the people sitting together in a room, having a long discussions and sharing of ideas. No, it is empathization, defining, ideation, prototyping. No, that is not just a discussion. And an important thing, design thinking is not a one-day process. And you cannot solve problems using design thinking in 24 hours. Design thinking tries to provide you a permanent solution by understanding the needs and desires of an individual and then generating. So it is not a one-day job. And design thinking does not replace analytical problem solving. Design thinking is a combination of analytical thinking and as well as creative thinking or intuitive thinking. And design thinking is not a silver bullet for all types of problems. You can there may be certain problems where your design thinking process may not be a feasible one. So you should not consider that this is best suitable for everything. So we have to have a judgment to which problems you have to apply design thinking, to which problems you should not apply design thinking. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind. The best thing that you can look at, the uniqueness of the design thinking is it is human-centered. It is highly creative. It is hands-on, and it is iterative. Design thinking is human-centered, highly creative, hands-on, and iterative. It is a uniqueness of this. This is the SOP of design thinking. So what are the benefits that we get from design thinking? The benefit is that it complements the other problem solving techniques. In a sense, it adds to it. It does not completely eliminate the other following techniques. It helps the organizations to become more involved and innovative. So as you are involving more number of people into discussion, everyone will become a stakeholder into it. So more innovation is brought into it, and it solves human problems. And the end goal of it is customer satisfaction using design thinking, and you get a competitive advantage. The best example of this is Apple company. The Apple products are always in more demand because they follow design thinking aspects into this. Now let us see. I want to construct a swing, a tree swing. So a customer explains his requirements to an architect. He goes to an architect and tells the architect that I want you to construct a tree swing. I have got a tree in my house. I want to construct a tree swing. So what the architect feels that he feels that he has understood what the customer needs or his client needs, and he has come up with an idea which you can see on your screens. That he understood what the customer needed, and he gave this sketch. And so as the architect alone cannot do that, he gave this design to a design engineer. So what the design engineer did, the design engineer made some modifications to the sketches given by the architect, and he constructed. So what he did, he connected two holes here. He cut the bark, and he constructed the this. And then the design engineer handed over this design to the construction engineer. What did the construction engineer do? What is that the design engineer has given? He does not know anything. I will do it as I know. And then what he did, to the bark he connected two ropes, and he constructed. Did his own thing. And what the client actually wanted was this. He wanted a rope and a tire to be tied to this. But the surveyor wanted a much cheaper version, so he just wanted, instead of a tire, he wanted a stick to this. If you clearly observe these pictures, as they did not sit together and discuss, as they did not have brainstorming sessions, as they did not try to understand what the client is actually looking for, okay, they did not talk to the client. Everyone had their own conclusions and developed the product. In the end, the product did not come as the customer needed, and it was a failure. This is what we call it as design paradox. So if you do not incorporate design thinking, this is what will happen. You will end up in a design paradox. What will be the learning objectives for us from now on? Understanding, taking into consideration that we have understood what is the concept of design thinking. So what will be our learning objectives? We will try to acquire a deep understanding of the key concepts and principles of design thinking. Understand the mindset of the design thinker. Acquire detailed knowledge of design thinking process. Acquire detailed knowledge of design thinking process, methods and tools in creative problem solving. Develop skills in applying design thinking mindsets, methodology and tools in co-creating and improved customer experience journey through practice. And we'll also try to learn how to improve personal effectiveness by becoming a more empathetic service provider. So what is the point of view here? Okay. I am a college student and I hate folding laundry. I am a college student. I hate folding laundry, in the sense folding my clothes, because I cannot seem to fold it anyway. Right? Okay, let us take this sentence. I am a college student and I hate folding laundry because I cannot seem to fold it in a right way. So hope you are getting the sentence. I am a college student. I hate folding laundry because I cannot seem to fold it in a right way. Who is the user? Who is the user here? I am a college student. I hate folding laundry because I feel it, I cannot do it. So who is a user? College student is a user. What is his need to fold the clothes? College student is a user. What is his need to fold the clothes? What is the insight that we can develop from this? The insight is that he is hating to fold the laundry because he cannot fold it in a right way. So this is a point of view that you have to look at. From the discussion that we have, I made a statement. I am a college student. I hate folding laundry because I cannot seem to fold it in a right way. So who is the user? College student. What is the need? You have to understand what is his needs. Folding his clothes. Why is he hating it? Because he cannot fold it in a right fashion. So user plus need plus insight is the point of view. అర్థమైందా అండి? ఎలా అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి ఒక ఇండివిజువల్ని అనేది అర్థమైందా? Developing a strong point of view can be challenging because you have to identify who the user is, you have to identify what his need is, and from that you have to identify what is insight. Getting it right is very important. Getting the point of view correctly is very important, as it will shape the future of the project. So point of view of design thinking.